Hello and welcome to Long Winding Road, a podcast created to inspire you to embrace your unique path. I'm your guide, Stephanie, a multi-passionate mystic, medium, spiritual teacher, and everyday human. My journey has had a lot of twists and turns, non-linear as they say, and learning to embrace that and share my most authentic self with the world has been a long road of self-discovery, inner alchemy, and acceptance. In this space, I'll share personal insight, channeled guidance, as well as tools, techniques, and tips to help you navigate your own journey. So if you have a curious mind, enjoy all things spirituality, and are ready to remember the magic already inside of you, then you're in the right place. Let's begin. As I've been developing this podcast, as I've started to record this podcast, a lot of fears have come up. I mean, it's normal, right? We all have fears, and sometimes those fears prevent us from doing the things that we love, doing the things that we want to do. They prevent us from embracing our authenticity, from really being authentic in everything that we do. So for me, what has been coming up is validation, like this need for validation, this need for me to receive feedback, not just general feedback, but genuine feedback about what they think of the podcast that I put out. And not receiving that has triggered in the back of my mind like this feeling that I wasn't able to fully, I guess, describe or fully understand. Like I kept knowing that, why am I not receiving the validation I seek? But then I'd also be like, I'm going to keep going anyway, and it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks. I know that. I know that I am here to do what excites me, do what I'm led to do. But it's not easy. It's not easy to own that. It's not easy to step into that. And so I decided to pull a few cards from the Guided by Spirit Oracle. And the first card that came up, and this was a card that represents, like what is going on with me and my business right now. And it was a card of failure. And I thought, yes, that makes complete sense. And, I've failed many times in my life. And I think I've discussed that a little bit before, where I've had to start over. And, it wasn't easy, but I did it. I climbed from the bottom to the top. But having gone through that, I don't want to do it again. I know I can, but I don't want to. And I also know that I don't have to. But there's this little thing in the back of my mind that, you're going to have to start all over. You're going to be all alone. You're not going to have anywhere to go. And it's just going to be you out on the streets kind of thing, with no support. And I realized that within my business, which I've been doing full time for a few years now, a lot of what has kept me going like full in, which I often say that it's, it doesn't feel right, or, it's not quite right, which, yes, there's truth to that, but there's also that fear of failure. And I'm a perfectionist. I'm highly sensitive. I don't like rejection. I mean, who does, right? But it's inevitable. Not everybody's here to like us, and that's okay. So I pulled a couple of other cards to understand, how can I move through this fear of failure? How can I move this block that keeps holding me back? And the first card that came up was love. So how can I love myself through all of this? And I did a lot of work to come to the place where I love myself. But there's more work to be done. And I can see where I still put others ahead of myself, their needs. And I've come to realize, too, that some of that is it's easier to do that. It's easier to focus outside of ourselves than to be with ourselves, to love ourselves through all of the messiness and the yuckiness that we feel inside, the darkness at times, the joy at times. How can we show up for ourselves, take care of that little child inside of us? How can we embrace all of it? How can we embrace when we don't feel like we're where we want to be, or when we feel like we're stuck and we don't know where to go from here? And how can we just love ourselves through all of it? And that's a question that I continue to contemplate, and I continue to show up for myself in new ways. I continue to check in with my inner wisdom of what my body and what my heart and what my inner little girl need. Sometimes it's just rest. Sometimes it's to watch a really yummy romantic comedy. Sometimes it's to get out in nature. Sometimes it's to do really hard things like be fearless, which is the third card that I pulled out. And in this deck, and that's the same thing that comes to me, fearless is that Fool card from the tarot. Sometimes we just have to step into the unknown. We just have to step off the ledge and just allow. And yeah, why is that so hard? I think maybe sometimes it's easier than other times. And I know that I have done that before, and I know that I've always been caught. And yet here I am, creating something new, birthing something new, stepping into this new life, and I'm hesitant. I am afraid to trust. And it all goes back to what I described before of ending up alone with nothing. And that's just a story that I continue to tell myself based on my experience in my life, based on past life experience, based on ancestral programming. And it's not true. And I release that story. I do not intend to take that story forward because it's no longer my story. My story is to live and show up authentically, to trust explicitly, to know that I am supported by life, that no matter what, the universe has my back, that I'm not going to let anyone down but myself, if I don't go forward. So where does that leave me? Where does that leave anyone? And it's really just having the fear and doing it anyway. There's different levels of fear. There's the times in our body when we have that intuitive hit where it tells us danger, danger, danger ahead. And we need that. Then there's the times that we're sort of excited, but we feel fear. And, that fear is our mind trying to keep us safe and to love that part of us, right? To really, really love that part of us, to maybe listen to that part of us, sit down and connect with that part of us, to try and integrate it with the part of us that is excited to take that new leap, that new step into the unknown, and embrace it all and just do it anyway, but do it in a way that feels good for you, and allow it to unfold in the way that is right for you. Some people can take giant leaps, and some people take a little bit longer. I know for myself that it takes me a little bit longer. I knew for probably 3 years that my job at the pharmaceutical company was not for me. I knew that I needed to leave. I knew that I needed to sell my house. I knew that I was going to start my own business, but I didn't feel safe to just do it. And so I had to allow it to unfold a little bit more, one step at a time. I had to wait until I felt safe financially, that I felt safe or had the steps to move forward in a way that felt good for me. Did I know everything? No. There was a lot of unknowns in that. There was a lot of risk in that. And there's still a lot of risk because I still don't have it all figured out. But I did it when I felt a balance of the comfort of the part of me that didn't want me to do anything different, and the part of me that craved that difference. Is failure really even failure? Or is it a lesson that we can learn from and integrate into our soul? And maybe create something even more magical. And if we fail again at the same type of thing, maybe our soul just needed more time with that lesson before we can integrate it. And maybe it's something that we use to teach other people, to help other people, so that they don't have to face the same hardship, or maybe they don't need to go into the depth of all of it to fully integrate and move through it. I invite you, and I will be doing this myself time and time again. How can we show up for ourselves through all of it? How can we love all parts of ourselves? The parts that are fearful, the parts that want to be fearless. And how can we find a way to keep moving forward in a way that works for us? Someone once said recently, and I believe it was Tail Swan, and I'm sure many other people say it, that there's more risk in remaining in a place of comfort and safety than there is in taking steps into the unknown and following a life that leads to more discomfort. And I really love that because I find it so true. Because there's always going to be something in the back of your mind or something living within your gut that knows that you're not meant to sit still and be comfortable all the time. You're meant to live a more wild and challenging life. You're meant to face your fears and allow your path to unfold in a way that is unique to you, even if it is long and winding. Thank you for being here with me today, and I look forward to our next journey together. Thank you for listening. I am so excited and passionate about this podcast, and I am grateful that I get to share it with you. If you enjoyed what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and review because it means so much to me. And if you know someone who is ready to embrace their unique path, please share to help grow this community. I'm also interested in what you have to say. If you have any suggestions or topics for an upcoming episode, please leave a voice message using the link in the show notes. I look forward to continuing this journey with each of you. Until next time.